In a recent interview that I think dropped yesterday, that was reported on yesterday or the day before or something like that, Henry Cavill, who plays Superman in the DC movies right now, said that the DC movie universe, they've been making a lot of mistakes up until this year with Wonder Woman. He gave a few lengthy quotes about how the DC movies, he felt messed up. And that's why a lot of audiences didn't respond to them. You know, Batman versus Superman, Suicide Squad, and actually I think he was including his own movie, Man of Steel, the very first movie that kicked off this current era of DC movies. But I think his comments, while they're critical of the movie so far, I think they are fortuitous for how Justice League is going to be and future DC movies going forward. But first, let me read his first quote. He actually mentioned Marvel, DC, Marvel Studios, DC's biggest competitor in the movies, and of course their longtime rival in comics, and now television and basically everywhere, DC and Marvel are rivals. But right now, Marvel movies are on fire. Like, critics love them, most fans love them, they all make a lot of money. DC movies make a lot of money too, but critically, Marvel's doing a lot better. And he says that even if the Marvel movies didn't exist, the DC movies would still be having trouble. Let me read his quote. There was a style DC was going for, an attempt to be different and look at things from a slightly different perspective, which hasn't necessarily worked. Yes, it has made money, but it has not been a critical success. It hasn't given everyone that sensation which superheroes should give the viewer. So he basically flat out admits that, DC movies have made mistakes and they aren't perfect. And even if Marvel wasn't in the picture, they would still be having trouble critically, even though they've been making a lot of money. His next quote, though, he acknowledges Wonder Woman, which came out this year, the first DC movie of the current era of DC movies, that was both critically and financially successful. It was kind of universally loved almost. I mean, no movie's universally loved. There's always some people who don't like a movie, no matter how great it's supposed to be. But Wonder Woman was the first DC movie that critics didn't hate and that made a lot of money. And a lot of fans liked it too. And Wonder Woman could be a turning point for DC movies going forward, according to Cavill. At least that's what I think from what he says. I think it is a wonderful time for the female hero. It is the perfect setting in social politics right now. We need it. We want that perspective. And Wonder Woman has struck at the ideal time and has become a phenomenal success, which is fantastic. Any success within the superhero universe, especially within the DC universe, is wonderful. Because I want to keep telling the Superman story. Selfishly, that works for me. So he says Wonder Woman, the movie, was a success. Duh. And how that success is great for DC. Basically, between the lines, reading between the lines here, DC really needed a success that Wonder Woman was. But I think he also goes on to say that Wonder Woman might be the start of a new direction for DC movies. That's my interpretation. So, which leads me to his next quote. I feel like now the right mistakes have been made and they haven't been pandered to, and we can start telling the stories in the way that they need to be told. It is even better to come back from a mistake or stylistic error into the correct vein because it will make it seem that much stronger. Wonder Woman was the first step in the right direction. First step in the right direction, building on mistakes we've made. In my opinion, I think Henry Cavill is basically flat out saying that the DC movies are going to be different going in the future, starting from Wonder Woman on, than they have been in the past. Now, I don't know if you agree, like if you're someone who already liked the DC movies the way they were, I don't know, take this as you will, but I just think that according to him, in his perspective, and what he knows as someone who's a part of the DC movies, they're going to be different going forward. And I think Justice League is going to be more different than the other DC movies. And I believe that. I mean, they've been reshooting Justice League. They brought in Whedon. Even before Zack Snyder left, Joss Whedon came in to, I think, add more lightness and to put in, some humor and things like that. And I don't know that, I think Zack Snyder might have already been trying to do some of that himself too before Whedon came in. In a lot of the Justice League trailers and TV spots that we've seen so far, there's been more jokes, more lightheartedness. Not that there won't be dark times in the movie, but there's definitely going to be moments of a bit more upbeat tone. And Justice League is the first movie in the current era of DC movies, team movie, where we have a lot of the heroes working together and trusting each other. At least that's what I think. They're banding together to fight evil. Now, I know in other DC movies there have been team-ups, but they were pretty tense In Batman v Superman, Batman and Superman were fighting each other, and Batman tried to kill Superman, and it wasn't until the last, 30 or 40 minutes that they, stopped trying to hurt each other and united against a common enemy. But for most of that movie, it was a very tense, fractious relationship, and people didn't want to see Batman and Superman fighting each other, not for the reasons in that movie. And then in Suicide Squad, that also featured, protagonists who are working together for a common goal, but these were supervillains who, for the most part, couldn't trust each other, and they were working for Amanda Waller, who was basically threatening to, have their heads blown up, kill them if they didn't do what they were supposed to be doing. And that's not really a great, happy, positive relationship or an example of heroes getting along either, But Justice League, I think, is the first team movie where it's going to be a bit more, the relationships are going to be more positive, I think, for the most part. Not just for the last half of the movie, throughout the entire thing. I'm thinking, I haven't seen Justice League, but that's just my opinion. And it's one of the movies that DC started to change when they were getting a lot of fan backlash from their other movies, in the hopes to course correct their DC universe. And a lot is riding on Justice League. They need Justice League to be a hit with both fans and critics and make money, because if it succeeds, it'll be good for the rest of the DC universe and they'll be able to make more movies. That's just my theory. And from what Cavill is saying in these quotes, as an insider, someone who's actually a part of this universe, I think he knows a lot, and he's probably been told a lot. And he's in Justice League. I'm sure Superman is in Justice League. So I'm sure he knows what the movie's like that he's acting in, right? I'm making a lot of assumptions here, but I don't think they're bad assumptions to make. And so I think these quotes, they're very long, very informative, and I think they're fortuitous. Now, I could be wrong. Justice League could come out and it could be the same as the others, and, I'll be like, oops, but I don't think so. And again, I'm not saying that the DC movies were bad before. I liked the DC movies as they were. I mean, you could probably tell if you've been watching my channel, I've been talking about how I love DC and was supporting their previous movies anyway. I knew they had faults, but I still liked them. So, I would have been happy if the DC movies had stayed the same, but they need more than just me for their universe to be successful, and I think they know that, and they're trying to course correct. And that's all I'm getting for here. I think these quotes mean a lot for what the kind of movie Justice League will be and what we're going to see when it comes out. And I just wanted to make this video to give my analysis of this quote and what I think it might mean for the movie that's coming out November 17th, Justice League. I think Justice League is going to be different, markedly different from BVS and Suicide Squad and Man of Steel. Movies that, a lot of people didn't think were hopeful or had a lot of uplifting things in them. I think now it's going to be, the hopeful aspect of DC going forward. But we'll find out. Anyways, that was my take. Thank you for watching. Let me and the whole world know how you feel down in the comments. Do I not know what I'm talking about? Do you agree with me? And again, do you agree that the DC movies were, had problems before? Maybe you liked them as they were and you disagree with Henry Cavill that there were mistakes made. Maybe you thought there were no mistakes. Thank you for watching. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.